Let's get everything fixed here. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Zervos. I'm a registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist, and I'm very happy to be here today on, for Lending Hearts to provide a little nutrition program. I'm very excited to do this every week or every month, I should say. We look at a new topic, everything that's relevant that's happening today. And I'm sure right now you hear a lot of what you hear is the low carb fad, or it's here to stay. But I don't like to look at it that way. I think we need a balance of carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And I don't think that there's certainly better carbs than others. We want our carbohydrate to be in the most natural whole form there is. And when I say that, I'm talking about fresh fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. We also get carbohydrates from refined sugars and refined flours, snack foods, processed crackers, certain kinds of bread. Those things are not the best source of carb. So we want to make sure that we're getting the best carb for us, because we always want to choose the most nutrient-dense food that we can. That's best for our bodies, and that helps to create a diverse gut. It helps us get the best bang for our buck, so to say, out of everything that we eat, because we want to make sure that we are fueling our body on whole grains, whole foods, whole vegetables, and fruits, and of course, good proteins, lean chicken, lean beef, certainly a variety of fish and shellfish is good, and pork as well. Eggs, low-fat dairy products, all of those are great our sources of vitamins in our diet. So we want to make sure that we get those. And so today we're going to discuss some of those things. We're going to discuss how to make over some old favorites that we have, maybe some comfort foods, how to make them a little healthier, a little bit better in the carbohydrate, higher fiber, increase the vegetable content. So we are doing the best for our bodies. So let's get started. We have a lot to do. We're going to make 4 things today that I'm very excited about. And we're going to start with dessert, which is something that I don't always do. But since it takes a while to be in the oven, we're going to begin with that. And I have a great way. We're going to make over a brownie. And 2 ways that we're going to make this over is we're going to substitute sugar. We're not going to use any sugar in this recipe at all, so there's no added sugar. And instead, we're going to use dates. And I highly encourage you to try this sometime if you have a chance in your baking. You could try it in many recipes that call for sugar. And it should be, it's an even exchange. If the recipe calls for 3/4 cup sugar, you would want to use 3/4 cup of date paste. So I'm going to show you how to make date paste today. So just to think about it, we're taking out the sugar, we're taking out the white sugar, and we're replacing it with these, dried dates, right, that are a great source of calcium, magnesium, fiber, vitamin C. So it's just a great way to get that in there. And they have their own natural sugar. So don't be afraid to use things that have sugar in them naturally, like the fruits, because that fruit is kind of built in to the carbohydrate, and it's a natural source. It's not been processed, so that makes it an excellent source for us. So the thing with date paste is typically you use a cup of dates. You want to compact them, smash them into a cup. And then we add water to that, hot water, and we put that in a food processor. And you might want to experiment. Sometimes you could do 1/4 cup of water. Sometimes you could do as much as a 1/2 cup of water, depending on your recipe. So it might take a little bit of trial and error. There are many recipes out there that have already done the research for you. So it's not too difficult. But if you want to make over, maybe a recipe that's been in your family, that's a good option to do, just to keep experimenting. And of course, it's always better to start with less and add more if you can do that. So let's make our date paste, and I'll show you if you don't know what we're talking about, we'll get started. And so we're going to use our food processor today. Move my glasses. We're going to use our food processor. And I will get it over here so you could see it. Okay, and we are going to add our dates and our water. And I have some hot water over on the stove, so let me get that. And here's our dates. You want to make sure that they have been pitted already, and these ones have. And like I said, this was 1 cup of dates, and I compacted them. I smashed them down really good into the cup. The other thing that you could do is weigh them, and that's usually, they actually weigh between 6 and 8 ounces, somewhere in between there. So let me get my hot water from the stove. And you want this to be hot. And we're going to put our lid on. See if I could. It'll be a little noisy. Oh, I think came off. Lid came off there. We just have to set it back on. A little bit hard, but that's okay. We'll just keep pulsing. And we'll add some more water. Soften them up a little bit. And I'm going to put a little rag here so it doesn't. And our processor does not want to cooperate today. That's all right. We'll just push everything to the side. Just move these a little bit. Sorry about that. Of course, technical difficulties. Let's make sure we're way on and try this again. We may need to add more warm water. Okay, let's take a look at that. Be nice and smooth, and it's just not there yet. So let's scrape it down with our spatula and see what that looks like. And we're going to add a little bit more water. And just a little at a time. Once you put it in there, you cannot take it out. And we're just going to have to keep scraping down. It's okay. Actually, now it's looking pretty good. Okay. All right. So we have our date paste and we have them there, and we're going to put them in a nice large bowl. And I'll keep my camera here so you can see it. My food processor over and bring our bowl over right in front of you. Okay. So here we have our bowl. Take out our blade. And we're going to put our date paste in there, and you can see the consistency. It's very nice. Okay. And once we get our date paste in there, we're going to add our, I'm going to add 1 egg. And we're going to add our oil, a little bit of canola oil and vanilla. And we're going to stir this until it's nice and smooth. Vanilla right here. So it's like a regular brownie where you just, you stir instead of using a blender. So let me take that out of here and show you how we'll stir this up. It smells really good too. That's what I like about this. Dates give it a nice taste. All right, so we're going to stir that up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add flour. And I also have some kosher salt in here. I just didn't do a separate bowl. We're going to add our flour and cocoa. And I think we've got a pretty good consistency here. Cocoa. Okay, so we got that all in there. And then we are going to add, we took one dark chocolate bar. I used a 72% cacao, and we're just going to fold that in. Just to add a little bit of additional chocolate and crunch. And this recipe is really nice. This, it's going to make 12 brownies. Each one's going to be 203 calories, 14 grams of fat, 4 protein, 17 carb, and 5 fiber. So that gives you a net carb of 12, which is actually pretty good for a dessert. And I think you'll find this is really satisfying. So what gets us to the low carb? It is using the almond flour and also decreasing the sugar. So using those two techniques, we could really modify this. And what I've done is I've taken an 8x8 baking pan and lined it with parchment. And we're just going to scoop this in there. You can see how thick it is, and we'll just get that. And again, I mean, you could use this for chocolate chip cookies. You could try it in any of your favorite recipes, and it'll give you a nice, you're not gonna, I don't think you'll notice that the sugar is missing. And you've got a really nicely made over dessert that you don't have to wait to the weekend or a special occasion to have. So that's what's really nice about this. And then I'm just going to try to spread it down a little bit. You might need to use, pretty thick, so you might need to use a spatula to hold it down, or your spoon to hold it down to keep your parchment in place. Get it all spread everywhere. And then try to get it nice and even. Okay. Smells really good. And we'll just pour it. We'll just put a couple of pecans on top too to add crunch. I have about a 1/4 cup in here. You don't have, we're not gonna, might be a little too much for my pan. We're okay. All right, so we're going to put this in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes. And another tip, this is not going to be like your typical, sorry about that. It's not going to be like your typical brownie where you put in a toothpick to see if it's done. It's going to still be a little bit on the toothpick. So we're just going to put it in there for the 35 minutes, see if it's pulling away from the pan a little bit, and we'll touch down on the top to make sure that it springs back. So let me go stick this in the oven. I'll be right back. Okay. So that'll be a nice little dessert for us. And I always try to have an appetizer or some side dishes or some different types of, entrees and different types of side dishes or appetizers to have a variety for you. So let's get started on our next item, which I think you will like. It is a zucchini boat, and zucchinis are going to come in pretty plentiful this summer, so it'll be nice to have some additional recipes. And I have a lot of my clients like to make zucchini boats, so this is one that's made over a little bit, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So let's get started. I'll tell you how I prep the zucchini. So what we're going to do, let me get everything over here so we're ready to go, and I could show you how that works. Move my food processor because we're not going to need that. Okay, sorry about that. I need a little somebody here to clear all the plates for me. So what we're going to do, and I have washed the zucchini, and you are going to cut off both ends. And then we're going to cut it in half. So just going to slice it in half lengthwise. Okay, so here we go. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your paring knife and you're just going to make a slice, not all the way through, just like a V. And again, we didn't go all the way through it, and you could make another mark if you want, just a couple, but usually just a V will do it. Then we are going to place that. I'm going to show you. And I've done this ahead because no way we could get all of our recipes in today if I didn't cook some things ahead. So let me tell you what I did, or show you what I did. So here's my pan. What we did was we put them on a pan with a foil lined sheet pan, and I sprayed some nonstick spray on it, and I put them face down. I never turned them in a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes. Okay, so this is what our crisscrossing did in the zucchini. So for after 20 minutes, it came out. Let me get a spoon and I will show you. Actually, I like to use my measuring spoons for this because it just gets it out real nicely. Watch just how nice that comes out. Okay, so just take it out just like that. And we're going to put it in our pan. Just like this. Okay, so I've scooped some out because, like I said, we're don't have a ton of time. So what I did was we made our sauce ahead of time, and it's just a basic tomato sauce that today we used sauteed onions, garlic, and then we used some crushed tomatoes, and then we added some fresh basil to that, and we let it simmer. And we also added we sauteed some ground turkey. We just wanted to make it over a little bit just to lower the saturated fat. So we're going, after it takes a little bit of time because we had to scoop out the flesh. Then we chop up the flesh and we add it to our sauce mix. So what is that doing? We are creating more bulk. We're creating more fiber in the meat section of it as well, in the meat sauce. So we're getting more fiber. We're sneaking some vegetables in there. So if you have some picky eaters that won't eat the zucchini, the shell, at least if they're eating the filling, they're still getting a lot of zucchini because I've scooped all of this zucchini out, except from the ones I just showed you, and they are in our sauce and they cook down real nicely. So it's a great way to get some more vegetables in there as well. So let's go ahead and we'll put these in our pan. And I will show you this, and I will show you the sauce that we made. So we're just going to put them in, and we're just going to make a small batch here, and I'll reserve these for later. I just wanted you to see what we're doing. And it's very important to follow these recipes because it calls for a certain amount. I think it calls for maybe 6 tablespoons of shredded mozzarella and also a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now, we want to make sure that we always use the recommended amounts because all of the calories, the protein, and the carb are based on these numbers. So if you go ahead and if you're a little heavy-handed on that, you're really changing up the recipe. So if they're saying about a certain amount of fiber that you're going to get, you know, if you're following the recipe exactly that you're getting that. And that's really what we want. And what we want to make sure that we're getting that. And also it's very important to measure the amount of cheese that you're using, because remember, cheese, full fat dairy cheese is a source of saturated fat. That's the one that raises our cholesterol. So you want to make sure that you're only using the recommended amounts. And I've made these recipes over for your good health. So we're just going to use a very small amount. I do use, you see I use the canola oil here when I have, but I try to use very little added sugar and very little of the saturated fats as possible, just so we're getting you a nice healthy recipe. So let me get my meat mixture and we will put that in here and then we'll get that in the oven. So it smells really good. I'll show it to you. Again, you could use ground beef, but I thought we would use turkey today. And it's crushed tomatoes, onions, garlic, fresh basil, and then all of the zucchini pulp that resulted out of our little out of our zucchini that we cooked earlier. And then we're just going to get a spoon and we're just going to put a little bit in each one, just like that. And these are great. You could have them for dinner. They could be an appetizer if you want to make them a little bit smaller. They make a great lunch. Could be anything that you want. It's a great snack. Again, we've really lowered the saturated fat. We've increased the fiber. So it's just a really nice food to add to your pattern. Okay, and then we're going to put a little Parmesan and a little bit of the mozzarella. And we're going to stick that in the oven for about 20 minutes. Just to get it nice and hot again, because this is all, we're just really melting the cheese at this point. So just a sprinkle, maybe a teaspoon or two on each piece. We're not covering them. And that way you could taste all the goodness that was in the meat mixture and in the zucchini that really comes through. Okay, and then I'm just going to wipe down the side of my pan here so it does not burn. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the oven and set the timer for another 20 minutes, and we'll get started on our next item. Okay, so we'll move our meat sauce aside and our zucchini, and we'll get started on our next item, which I went ahead and did a lot of it beforehand because we just don't have enough time. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's a made over chicken fried rice. So no air quotes for the chicken because it is real chicken, but the rice is actually riced cauliflower. And if you've never tried riced cauliflower, I think it's a great addition to your diet. Not only is it high in many phytocompounds, it is a great source of fiber. It's extremely low in carb. So it really is a great substitute. I like to serve my spaghetti sauce over it. I like to put it in several of my recipes. I have tried it in stuffed peppers before. And this recipe is so nice. I don't think you're going to miss the actual rice that's in the fried rice. So in normal, regular fried rice, I should say. And once I show it to you, you're not going to believe it. So let me tell you what I did first. I sauteed a little bit of onion in our saute pan here, and just in a little canola oil and unflavored oil like that, just a small amount. And then I went ahead and I added some frozen vegetables, peas and corn, and also the riced cauliflower. So that was just sauteed a little bit, just brought it up to temperature. This is a very quick and easy dinner. I also sauteed the chicken ahead of time as well. And then I added the chicken to the vegetables. But before I did that, I made I'm going to show you now, show you our dish. Look how beautiful that looks. After I was done with the rice and the vegetables, I made a small well in the middle. And I cracked 2 eggs in here, and I just stirred them up a little bit just to get some eggs in here. And that's what also gives it this nice color. And a little bit of soy sauce, low sodium soy sauce. Mix it all together, and it makes a really nice dish. Let me show you on my platter here. And this is really nice. This is, let's see, this is about 4 servings, 200 calories, 8 grams of fat, 32 grams of protein, and only 9 grams of carb. How many? I mean, if you get regular chicken fried rice, it has so much more carbohydrate. You could have as much as 45 grams of carbohydrate, which really a serving of carbohydrate is 15 grams per serving. So that's every slice of bread, every 1/3 cup of rice. So you could see if you had a whole cup of shrimp fried rice or chicken fried rice, you're getting at least 45 grams of carbohydrate right there. And you're not getting the fiber that you're getting with this one. So let's get the rest of this poured out here. You could add you could add the soy sauce to taste. And then of course, I always like to add some chopped scallions. They just add flavor, color, texture. So there we have our cauliflower fried rice. It's a nice little made over recipe. This is such a great thing too. And also very little sugar, because we just used a little bit of soy sauce. I use low sodium. Any kind of sugar that we have is probably from the carrots, a little tiny bit. But anyhow, this is a great recipe. I always like it to be, I'm always looking for those higher protein, lower carb entrees that help us with our glycemic control, can help us with weight control, and just a great, great filling, great to feel energized, right? We want to feel fueled throughout the day. We don't want to rely on, caffeine or sugar to fuel us through the day. If we're feeling tired, it may be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're at work and you get that little 2 p.m. slump where you're going to the vending machine looking for a soda or looking for some type of snack food or some type of sugar. Instead choose a great healthy lunch that's high in protein, that has the right kind of carbs, that has those carbs that have a lot of complex carbohydrate. They have fiber, like our fresh fruits and vegetables here. And yes, we use the frozen version because that's convenient for this, but salads are great, to make a salad bowl, to make, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, anything like that as a big side dish in addition to your lean protein, lean chicken, lean fish, something like that for lunch. And you should sail right through to your next meal. And if you need something between lunch and dinner, choose something that's balanced, like maybe anything from the nut family. I like the nuts in order. I like almonds, then pistachio, and I'm talking about as far as the protein to carbohydrate ratio. First, I would choose the almonds, then pistachios, then cashews, then pecans and walnuts at the bottom. But remember, our walnuts, 1 ounce of walnuts contains 2,500 milligrams of the omega-3 fatty acids, which also makes them an excellent choice too. So a little bit, remember, the serving size for nuts is just 1 ounce, what fits in your hand. Our 1/4 cup, I don't know if I have one handy here, but it's a very small amount. If you put it into a baggie, it would be that, like a sandwich bag, plastic sandwich bag. It would just be about that much in the bottom. So not a whole lot. And, you could pair that with a little bit of cheese. You could pair it with maybe just a couple of cranberries or a couple of raisins, something like that, just to get a few things. It just makes a nice balanced snack. And if you do have a commute, if you find that sometimes you're very hungry when you get home, or you had a rough day at work, or you have a lot going on, that should help to get you through that time and, arrive at the next meal ready to go, not starving, but, appropriately hungry for that meal so you don't overeat again. So let's go ahead and set this aside, and we're going to work on our next item. So yeah, this is really nice. And I just tried it before we got on our call, and it tastes, I defy you to tell me that it's not rice. It really has a good taste. The thing about the cauliflower rice, it does have a little bit of a bite to it. You don't want to overcook it so it's mushy. The other thing that you could do is you could actually cook the cauliflower fresh for yourself, and then use like a potato masher to mash it up really good and use it that way. So again, a nice addition to our diet could be used in place of so many things. So let's just go ahead and set that aside. And the next thing that we are going to make is a made over chicken salad. So today is all about those comfort foods. So let me go get our prep for the chicken salad. I think you're going to like this one. So this is a nice thing to take to lunch, to either prepare at home or to take with you to the office. So let me just move all of our prep over here. And I'm also just going to take a peek. Everything looks good there. Okay, everything's cooking really nicely. Our brownies are getting done. The zucchini looks perfect. So we're going to start on our chicken salad. I really like this chicken salad. Again, a lean protein. I have prepared the chicken ahead of time. It's just, here, let me show you our prep here. I prepared the chicken ahead of time. So we have everything ready, and we're going to use some different ingredients today. We're going to use low-fat yogurt. We're going to use some Dijon mustard, lemon juice, a little bit of honey, some lemon zest and parsley, just a sprinkle of salt. And then, of course, we're going to add our chicken. Then we're just going to top it with a few toasted almonds. So again, this is a great recipe. In place of that mayonnaise, I always recommend to my clients that, using the non-fat or even low-fat plain yogurt is a great substitute for sour cream. It's a great substitute for mayonnaise in some recipes. What it does is it decreases the extra fat and gives you a really great source of protein here. So we're talking in this quarter cup, and this is what our quarter cup looks like. We're talking about 5 grams of protein. And again, that's a really, and very low and no fat versus what you would be getting in mayonnaise. So we're going to whisk all that together. We're going to put everything together. So let me move my prep aside and let you see the bowl. The other thing that I think makes this recipe really nice is the lemon zest, and we'll talk about how to do lemon zest in a minute. So let's go ahead and get started with making our dressing for this. Okay, so we're going to put in our yogurt. Okay, and then we're going to put in our mustard. And it helps too. I took out these things a little bit earlier when I was doing my prep. So it's nice when your yogurt is at room temperature, it'll mix really nicely. And we're also going to add our parsley and 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley, a teaspoon of honey. Let's get this out of here. This is always the one that's going to give us a little trouble to come out of here. Okay. All right, set that aside. And then we're going to do our lemon juice, which is a fresh teaspoon, lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of fresh lemon juice. And then we're also going to add a little bit of lemon zest. Okay, so what I've done before we started today is I washed my lemon really well with soap and water, and then I patted it dry. You don't want to do that until you're ready to use your lemon. It's okay to just leave them the way that you bring them home from the store or the farmer's market. But then you just want to make sure this is clean because, this is traveled. There's many hands touching this. So it's just a great idea to give it a wash. Sometimes we forget that. Just think they were even handled in the grocery store. They could be handled by the cashier. So we just want to make sure that we are washing our produce, because when we cut into this, if I cut into this with my knife, just think about it. I'm introducing any bacteria from the outside in, and we're not necessarily cooking these fruits. that we're using, so we don't have an opportunity to kill any bacteria because it is a fresh dish. So we want to make sure that that's adequately cleaned. I like to use a small hand grater. This is probably one of a great find, an old gourmet kitchen store that I was in a long time ago. So it's just a little hand grater. You could use it for zesting. I also have another zest, but I like the way that I get just a small amount here. So we're just going to take it, and you could see, I'm going to show you on my spoon what it looks like. And it smells so good. Okay, so here is our lemon zest. You see those little pieces right there? And it just gives so much flavor, because when we're doing that, yes, there's so much in the actual juice. There's so much flavor, but there's oils that are in the lemon rind itself. So you could see, whenever you do this, you could see, it's hard to see now, but you could see the oil, that essence coming off of there. And that's what we're capturing in here. And that really makes for a great flavor. So we're just going to take and get all of that goodness off there and put it in. Okay. All right. So, and then a little bit of salt, and we're going to mix this all together. This makes a nice little dressing. Okay. And then we're just going to put our chicken in there. And I have about 2 cups of cooked chicken that I did ahead of time. And we're just going to give that, it just smells so good. You wouldn't even believe how good this smells with that fresh lemon in there. It's just enough that we need for this. So instead of that mayonnaise base, it's just, I can't even tell you how good that smells. Parsley, everything in there. Everything is nice and fresh too. I highly recommend, whatever you can to use fresh herbs. They just add so much. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to take our toasted almonds and just sprinkle them on top. And I just toasted. All you do is just take, I'm not going to put them all on. All you do is just put a few almonds on either a piece of foil or a nice baking sheet and put them in the oven for 350 for just 5 to 10 minutes. It's really not too long. You really have to keep an eye on them because they'll go from lightly toasted to burnt in very quickly. So again, nice little dish. And then what I like to do with this is I like to put it on a little, like to wash some nice leaves of either Bib lettuce or romaine lettuce, or even large spinach, not the small kind, but if you have a large spinach, I have some that we use occasionally in the summertime. And I like to take a scoop and put it right into that cup of lettuce. It makes a great presentation. I've done that many times at wedding showers or, where you're having just a nice little afternoon ladies luncheon, and you could set out all your little lettuce cups. You could put some chicken salad and some tuna salad and other ones. And then you could either eat it like that. You could put it on your salad. You could put it on a croissant if that is, what you prefer, but it makes a great addition anyhow you like to have it. So let me set this aside, and we're going to look at our other things that we have today too. Let's pull out let's check on our zucchini and our brownies because they should both be done now. Let's look. Okay, so our zucchini is done, and this is little I could call it zucchini parm, little zucchini boat, and we could also add some more fresh parsley onto this. Have some over here, and we could just sprinkle this right on. Doesn't that look beautiful with the red and the green? Nice little summery dish. Again, very low in carb, high in fiber, and we have not only the serving of vegetables and the zucchini that the shell is, but we also have all of the zucchini that's in our meat mixture. So it makes a really, really nice meal, really high in vegetables. Remember, we want to get those 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So this could easily count as 2 servings of vegetables in one serving here. So that's very nice. So let's set that aside. And we can get out our, let me go grab our brownies. Let's see if they're done. They have another minute. Okay. Let's get those. Okay, so sorry about that. We have our brownies. Look how nice they are. So let's get one. We'll cut one and see how they come out. And let's get a little serving plate. Okay. And again, I will have all of these recipes on the website for you. A little too hot to take out of the pan, but we'll just leave them, we'll just give them a cut. Again, nice little treat. And they're going to be, remember, they don't come out too thick clean, but you don't want to overcook them, but they're perfect. I'm just going to let them sit a little bit longer because I don't want them to fall apart. But it looks like that's a nice ratio for the dates to water. Again, remember, we did 1 cup of dates, about 7 ounces, and we did a little bit more than ½ cup of water. So it's a great way, between using the almond flour, and between using the dates, we really reduce the amount of carbohydrate in there. We really, with the zucchini, we added a lot of fiber there. And while, vegetables are carbs, right? But they have 1/3 the carb. Vegetables typically have 5 grams of carbohydrate per serving. They have 2 grams of protein and no fat. So, and what we're talking about is the non-starchy vegetables like zucchini, green beans, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, tomatoes, all of the non-starchy vegetables. A serving size will usually have around 5 grams of carb and 2 protein and no fat, and about 25 calories. So for some vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli, that might be 2/3 of a cup. For lettuce, that might be 2 cups or more. So you want to pay attention to those, not so much because of the calories, to make sure that you're getting that full serving. Because if you have a slice of or 2 slices of tomato on a sandwich, it's not necessarily a whole serving of vegetables. 1 medium tomato is about 25 calories. So if you had a whole tomato salad chopped up, that would be different. So going over some of those, and then the starchy vegetables like the peas and the beans, like lima beans, and black beans, some of the legumes there too, and potatoes, the starchy vegetables, they have, they're like a starch. They have 15 grams of carbohydrate per serving, just like a slice of bread does, or just like a ½ cup of pasta does. It's going to have 15 grams of carbohydrate. It's going to have 3 grams of protein and no fat and about 80 calories. So there's a big difference in corn and Brussels sprouts, asparagus, green beans, cauliflower, broccoli. Corn is one of those starchy vegetables, a lot more complex carbohydrate. Not that it makes it a bad vegetable, but you want to know that the serving size is only 1/3 cup. So that makes a big difference. Let me see if I have a 1/3 cup here. This is 1/3 cup. So you can see how small that is. That's our serving size for corn or peas or beans. And then the other vegetables would be closer to, I don't have it here, but closer to 2/3 of a cup, this bowl here, which is a lot significantly bigger. But, and not that you couldn't have more than this, but just know that if you did have this would already be 1 serving. This 1/3 cup of peas, bean, or corn is equal to, in carbohydrates, right? 15 grams of carb is equal to 1 piece of bread that has 15 grams of carb, unless we're going with a diet sliced or something like that. 1/2 cup of pasta cooked. Cereal, depending, that could be a cup of some cereals. It could be 3/4 of a cup of cereal. You would have to look at the serving size on the label. So if you're looking at that serving size and it says 3/4 cups is 15 grams of carb, that's your serving size. If it says that a 1/4 cup is 7 grams of carb, then you get to have a 1/2 cup for 15. That's just, you could have more, you could have less, but to get what a serving of carbohydrate is, you would want to be cognizant of those different portion sizes. So just something to think about. Again, so we have that, and then we have milk. We used yogurt today. Serving size, 1 cup. 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of yogurt typically contains around 12 grams of carbohydrate, 8 grams of protein, and the fat's going to vary depending on whether it is non-fat, low fat, or whole. You're going to have 0 grams of fat, 3 grams of fat, or 5 grams of fat, just depending. And that could vary. There's some ultra filtered milks that have more protein, so that those numbers can change a little bit. Certainly the Greek yogurt is much higher in protein than some of the other yogurts. And the plant-based yogurts, since they are coming from plants, right, they typically have 6 grams of protein per cup. So it's hard to make up that difference from plants, versus our animal sources. So that is our serving size for milk, just to be aware of that. And fruits. Fruits are also an excellent source of carbohydrate. Fruits have, just like the starch family, they have 15 grams of carbohydrate per serving, but they don't contain any protein and they don't contain any fat, and they have about 60 calories per serving. So what that might look like is a half a banana, and I have one right here. So this is a small banana. Let's look at the other one. And sometimes it's good to put these on a scale, but this half of a banana would be 15 grams of carb right here. This whole banana would probably be close to 27 or 30 grams of carbohydrate, which is really 2 servings, right? So when you're doing that, not that you couldn't have more, it's just to realize if carbohydrates are something that I'm watching, maybe 1/2 size. Is what I'm going for. If I need to increase those starchy carbs for whatever reason, okay, this will give me 2 servings of fruit right here. So it's just to be good. It's just good to be aware of those portion sizes. Likewise, if you were to have a cup of raspberries, it's more like 1.25 cups is going to give you that 15 grams of carb, no protein and no fat, and 60 calories. Watermelon, another one, you're going to get a whole cup per serving. And then when you get to other fruits, like an apple, it's going to be a smaller apple. Sometimes in the fall, you see apples that are closer to a softball size. That could be very easily 2 to 3 servings of fruit. So sometimes it's good to throw these things on a scale and see how much you're looking at there. It could be significantly higher than what you think. That apple, that daily apple, if it's as large as a softball, that could be adding 40 grams of carbohydrate. So it's good to know that in the big picture, in your diet and in your pattern, where is my carbohydrate coming from? How much am I getting from some of these things that I'm eating? And just to be aware, if you are trying to balance your carbohydrate, if you're trying to get better glycemic control, if you're having any problem with glucose intolerance, it's good to know how much you're having at each meal. And the other thing that we were talking about today was protein, right? So many of I was talking about trying to increase that protein while keeping the carbohydrate low. Well, a serving of protein, which could be, an ounce of chicken, an ounce of beef, an ounce of pork, an ounce of fish, 1/4 cup of tuna, 1 egg, 1 ounce of cheese, is typically going to have no carbohydrate. It's going to have it's going to have 7 grams of protein, and the fat's going to vary. So you can understand how chicken and fish would have much less fat than, our next, maybe some red meats and some pieces, some cuts of pork. The highest fat, maybe our porterhouse, ribeyes, and cheese, peanut butter. They're really like one serving of protein and a serving of fat because of their fat content is so high. So again, protein could vary just like our milk did, with skim products, low fat products, and whole fat products. Meat, our proteins are the same way. We have the very lean that might be coming in at 3 grams of fat per ounce, medium fat meats at 5 grams per ounce, and a higher fat cut of 7 grams per ounce. So, and the calories will vary too. So it's more important to know that 1 ounce of meat is going to give us that 7 grams of protein. So today in our zucchini parm, we used turkey, which was low in fat, and it probably had it's closer to that 0 to 3 grams of fat per ounce, 7 grams of protein per ounce, and probably 50 calories, 50 to 55 calories per ounce. So it's an excellent choice. And again, we have a nice low, so it's nice and high in protein, and it's very low in carbs. So that makes it an excellent snack or meal, appetizer, however you want to serve it. We could cut them up smaller if we wanted to for that. So that's where our protein is. So we discussed protein, vegetables, starches, fruit, and the last one is fat. So what is a serving of fat? A serving of fat is typically a teaspoon of oil, a teaspoon of butter, a teaspoon of margarine, and also maybe one slice of bacon. And that's going to be 0. We're not going to get any carbohydrate from our fat, right? We're not going to get any protein from that fat source, but we will get 5 grams on average, 5 grams of fat per serving of fat, and about 45 calories. Not to say, and I should say this too with the other food groups, not to say that you might not get a little bit of protein in a piece of bacon. There might be a gram in there. There might be 2 grams, depending on where it's cut, who cut it. So it's going to change a little bit. But for the other things like butter, for oils, no, it's going to be no protein, no carb, and 5 grams of fat. Just like our fruit, I said, you'd be surprised to look at fruits, 15 grams of carb, no protein and fat. If you look them up, you could always look nutrition facts up online, and they'll give you the serving size and how much is carb, fat, and protein in it. And you would see that some of them, cauliflower, broccoli, they might have a gram or 2 of fat. They might have a gram or 2 of protein, more than 2 grams of protein, like the serving size. So it's just something, they're negligible. The big takeaway is to know that it's an excellent source, that vegetables have 1/3 per serving size. They have 1/3 of the carbohydrate than of fruits and the actual carbohydrate group, the starch group. So they make an excellent addition to our diet. And that's why we should aim to get a combined 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, because that's going to get us our fiber that we need for the day. And that's what we did today by adding dates to our brownies, by adding zucchini to the meat sauce and having zucchini, and by having cauliflower rice in with our cauliflower fried rice, and by putting some of the yogurt and some of those other things. We put a little bit of almonds in there too, to try to get that fiber up to the 25 grams that we need a day. The requirement for fiber is 25 to 35 grams per day. Women are on that lower end, men are on that higher end. And again, that all depends on your calorie intake for the day. It's hard to get 25 grams of fiber if you're on a lower calorie diet. It just depends. So that are some of the things that we were looking at. Saturated fat, which all of our recipes today were very low in saturated fat. And that's why I encourage you to stick to the portion size, stick to the recipe when you're making these. We just use the amount of fat that it said in our zucchini parm. We don't want to, you could see let me see if my dishes. It's not totally covered. It's not a whole layer of cheese here. It's just a sprinkling. So we could keep that. We don't want to skew it and have it to go from this great high protein, high fiber, low carbohydrate meal, but then be very high in fat. So by just using a little bit, we could control the sat fat. No sat fat in our brownies. Our chicken has very little saturated fat. It would have had much more had we used real mayonnaise. And then also our stir-fried rice. We did have some eggs in there, which has a little bit, but for the most part, all low in saturated fat. All of our things that we made today were also low sodium. We use low sodium soy sauce in our fried rice. Again, no mayonnaise in our chicken salad. Just tomatoes and a small amount of dairy in here. So I didn't add, just added a little bit of salt, but not just to enhance the flavor. We didn't add, I wouldn't say anything here is high sodium today. And what else? We also have, a good serving or two of vegetables in our rice, in our zucchini. We have a serving of fruit in our brownies. And of course, our chicken fried rice has, we said that the chicken fried rice has probably 2 servings of vegetables in it. And our chicken salad has a serving of milk almost. So excellent choices for today. And you have that, the fiber and everything from the almonds that have been toasted and that little extra crunch that it's going to give you. So remember, we always want to have, a balanced meal. We always want to shoot for those 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. We always want to have lean proteins as our protein source that are low in saturated fat. We want to make sure that we're choosing a variety of foods for our healthy gut, right? We want to make sure that we're not, you don't want to eat the same thing every day. Our gut then is not challenged. So a healthy gut keeps us healthy. I mean, it keeps us, it keeps our immunity up. It keeps things, it encourages gut motility. So things do move through your gut. So you do, fiber also exercises our gut. So it's just, and it also feeds the bacteria that's in our gut to keep it nice and healthy. So all important today. We did check all the boxes with everything today. All the recipes will be on the website, as well as the nutrition information. Again, if you're going to use the date paste in any of your recipes at home, you might want to, especially if it's one of your favorite recipes that you make for everybody, you might want to try it and test it out at home first before you, if you have to take it somewhere for a party or something like that, just to make sure that consistency worked out for you. And again, that the zucchini boats could be taken other places too, as an appetizer or as a main dish. Very easy to do. And if you find yourself with a lot of zucchini on hand, there's many other options that we could put in there too. We could probably use cauliflower rice, a cauliflower rice and vegetable filling in them as well to make a vegetarian option. So lots of variations today, and I'll try to put them all on there, all the different ways that you could enhance these. We could have added a half a banana to our brownies today to just add a little bit of different flavor and more texture, and I will show that I'll make sure that we have good pictures of here of our salad that we could put onto a lettuce cup as well, or chicken salad. So again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Love to hear from you. And let me know if there's anything, any recipes that you would like to see. We could do them in our next class. So thank you so much. Have a great month and stay well.